the rest of the free agency moves and let's discuss them because there are a couple more. We spent a lot of time on the Miles Turner Bucks saga because there was a lot to dissect there. One final thing I actually want to say on the Pacers thing that I forgot to mention. If you didn't watch that, video, make sure you go watch that so you can hear my analysis on, what I thought about the Bucks waiving Damian Lillard and getting Miles Turner. But the last thing I'll say is, if you're Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, Rick Carlisle, obviously Pacers fans are upset. But the entire roster, if I'm them, I am furious that they didn't pay Miles Turner. Because, again, they were right there. Now, I don't know how they feel, but, I'm just saying, if I was one of them, I would be so upset. Because I would be again, go watch the video for my full analysis, but, it didn't give them any restrictions other than just some luxury tax money to pay him. They were not in any of the aprons. So if I was one of the members, or rather one of the players on the team, on the roster, I would have been so furious because I'm we were right there. How could you break us up? So that's what I would think. I'm not even a Pacers fan, but I would be very upset if I was a Pacers fan. This is obviously not the equivalent of, Dallas trading Luka. It's not the equivalent of that, but it's still bad. It doesn't look very good either. So let's move on to some of the other free agents. Duncan Robinson is actually going to, why did I just forget? Detroit Pistons? Is he going to the Pistons, right? And a sign and trade, 3 year, $48 million. I don't know why I forgot the team, but I know it's a sign and trade for that amount. Congratulations to Duncan Robinson. If he is going to the Pistons, like I said, because I don't know why I can't remember, that is great for them because the thing that they lacked was shooting. They also picked up, why can't I remember who the Pistons picked up? They picked up another shooter in the offseason, I believe, I remember correctly. So that's a great pickup for them. Brings them much needed, scoring or shooting rather. Good three-point shooter, a veteran in the locker room. He went to the NBA Finals, someone who can bring experience. And they lost THJ, which I'll talk about in a minute. Was THJ on the Pistons last year? Yeah, he had to be. I don't know why I'm getting so confused. There's too many moves going on. But yeah, so they lost THJ, so this is a much-needed pickup for them. So good for them. Speaking of THJ, did anybody see what Denver has done this offseason? They've done exactly what I criticized them of not doing these past couple off seasons. So good job, Denver. Because I'll say it again. I've said it a million times. If you watch this page, you've heard me say it a million times. So sorry, I have to repeat myself. The minute they lost Bruce Brown, it was the beginning of the end. I was how could you lose Bruce Brown? And I understand they couldn't necessarily pay him, the big bag that he got elsewhere. But it was the beginning of the end. Losing him, losing Jeff Green, it was just... It was just not going to work. And I said it was unfair to have to rely on these rookies and then sophomores, at that point. Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, they haven't been there, done that. They, you're asking too much out of them. And we saw what happened in the playoffs and stuff like that. And it wasn't their fault that they lost, but, you had to rely so heavily on Jokic and Jamal, who had an up and down, playoffs this time, and Aaron Gordon. It was just too much. It was just too much. So I love their off-season moves, the Cam Johnson move and picking up Valanciunas, actually, which I believe happened today too, so we'll talk about that. Getting Valanciunas, huge win. They get a backup big to Jokic, which has been one of their problems, is that when Jokic goes off the floor, it's not working, right? They didn't have a backup big for when Jokic goes out. Valanciunas solves, some of those issues. He's not going to be Jokic, but he should at least be able to keep them, in a good spot while Jokic is out. But speaking of Tim Hardaway Jr., they also got him. They are building up basically the roster that they had in 2023. I got the years confused. Obviously not the same roster, but this same kind of style. You got Bruce Brown back. Should have never, let him go. But again, I understand. Couldn't pay him the bag. So you get that necessary player back. And then you're getting shooting. with THJ, a veteran, someone who can, score the ball. We know that. And like I said, Cam Johnson and Valanciunas. Like, they just have depth now. Now they have options. Now Christian Braun and Peyton Watson can thrive because they don't have to be doing too much. They are going to be asked to do what they are best at and not do things that, like, they are forced to be doing. So, like, this roster, much, much better. Like, congratulations to Denver. This is a really good offseason for them. Nuggets and Rockets looking solid. Yes, they look very good. My criticism of Houston was that when they traded for Kevin Durant, I wasn't sure if they were a quote-unquote contender. Like, I definitely think when you add Kevin Durant, you get better. And they obviously had a chance to, win the West and stuff like that with Kevin Durant. But my thing was, like, all the guys you're relying on still are still, like, 21, 22, too young. Like, outside of KD, like, we haven't seen any of them in the playoffs enough to know, like, what we're going to get from them and stuff like that. And so I was like, I think they might still be a little too young and not developed enough to... They should have, like, before the moves that they made this offseason, they definitely should go further in the playoffs. But I don't know if that was going to result in a championship. And KD only has a finite amount of time left. But they made great moves, this offseason to fix that issue. Dorian Finney-Smith, great veteran, 3-and-D guy. Clint Capella, another veteran. Like, they have just brought in solid vets to either come off the bench. Maybe Dorian Finney-Smith starts. I'm not sure if he will. But they have definitely added experience and stuff like that with the roster, which was my concern. So I definitely like the roster a lot better now. Someone said, is Ayton still available? He is. He doesn't clear waivers until Wednesday. So, well, I guess today is technically Wednesday. So he clears today. So today is the day that he can sign with somebody. So we will see where he goes and stuff like that. I know a lot of people, are projecting him to the Lakers. I don't know, but today is the day he can sign somewhere. And then two more free agents. Two more free agent signings. Jakob Poeltl got 4-year, $104 million from the Raptors. The Raptors love Jakob Poeltl. Like, it's not, I'm not just saying that. Like, they actually do love him. He's been obviously really good for them and stuff like that. They have always made him, like, a priority, so to speak. I heard the reports they would not include him in the KD talks, like when they were trying to get KD, allegedly. They refused to put him in any deals. Like, that is how much they value Jakob Poeltl. So congratulations to him, 4-year, $104 million. And then the last signing is the Knicks got Guerschon Yabusele for a 2-year, $12 million deal. I don't know if you've been watching the Knicks. They only made two free agent moves, getting Jordan Clarkson. When he clears waivers, he'll sign. And then getting Guerschon Yabusele. And I know it doesn't look like the fireworks that people, talk about, but the one thing that the Knicks needed was depth. Technically speaking, obviously it's not going to work like this, but technically speaking, they just added 27 points to their bench. Like, Jordan Clarkson's a bucket. He can get 20 by himself. And Guerschon Yabusele is just an all-around good player, someone who's going to bring good energy. He can score the ball, obviously not the same way Jordan Clarkson can, but he can still do his thing. We obviously know he's athletic. He dunked on LeBron. Just high energy, just a good player to have on your roster. So while it's not a firework move, like I said, the one area where people thought they were lacking was depth. Their starting lineup is so talented. And I feel like they didn't necessarily maximize their talent all the time. I don't think it was necessarily a lack of talent thing. I just think it might not have been maximized. But that being said, now you are going to bring in a new head coach, which we'll talk about in a second. A new head coach who can hopefully maximize everybody. I think Tibbs did a good job. Let me just, be clear. I'm not trying to bash on Tibbs. That's not what I'm saying. My only criticism of Tibbs was the same thing that a lot of people was. It's just you got to use the bench more. Because, you just have to for multiple reasons. One, you got to get them prepared for when they have to play in the playoffs. Two, it's just exhausting your starters, you know, in the regular season during a January game when they don't need to be playing 40 minutes and stuff like that. So I think Tibbs was a really good coach. I think a lot of people might not have been able to turn around the franchise the way that he did. Obviously, it wasn't just him. Obviously, the players did a lot of that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that a lot of coaches could have done what he did. Some of them could, but regardless, like, that's not the point here. I think he's a good coach. I think they just reached, you know, the limit for, you know, the roster for what it was, whatever. For whatever reason, that's not the point here. Shout out to Tibbs. But now they can maximize their starters. In addition, now they have options off the bench, which I thought they had options last year. I just thought they didn't play them, to be honest. Like, I didn't think they had a depth problem. Like, I thought they had good players off the bench. They just didn't play them. But now you definitely have depth with Jordan Clarkson, and you still have Miles McBride. And I would assume you're still bringing Mitchell Robinson off the bench. Now you have Jordan Clarkson. You have Gershon Yabusele. Precious Achiuwa is still a free agent, so I don't know what's going to happen with him. And then apparently Mike Brown is the favorite to be the next Knicks head coach. So I don't know how Knicks fans feel about, you know, Mike Brown being the next head coach, but if that's who they hire, you know, we will see how the season goes. Because obviously the expectations are get to the NBA Finals, potentially win a championship. Because the East is wide open. Like, there's really, and I want to use the word no reason lightly, because, like, things happen, but, like, they have a great chance to come out of the East. Like, this is probably their best chance to come out of the East currently. Even better than last year, because you don't, even though they beat the Celtics, you don't have to go through the Celtics, and you don't have to go through the Pacers again. I like what Orlando did. I think Orlando got better. I love their moves. Obviously, the Hawks made good moves. The Cavs are still there. There are still good teams. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, I think a lot of people would say, or look at the Knicks roster and be like, this team should come out of the East. So, someone said Pelicans low-key got a roster. The Pelicans are in a weird situation. Like, I like the players on their team. It's just like they just can't get healthy. Like, they just seem to get so unlucky all the time. It's like one thing after another. I'm a big Herb Jones fan. I like Trey Murphy. You still got Zion. You still have Zion technically, right? So, like, I like their roster. It's just, I don't know. I just don't know. So, thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Bye.